I'm done. I can't live like this anymore. I want my life back. In one of the most intense, unfiltered blow-ups we've seen in 90 Day Fiancé, Jenny doesn't just raise her voice. She raises the stakes and walks straight out. Her words don't shake the room. They level it. And Sumit? Frozen. Blindsided. While he stammers through his shock, Jenny doesn't wait around for a reply. She's made up her mind, and she made it loud enough for the entire neighborhood to hear. This isn't a fight. This is rupture. Because this wasn't over dirty dishes or in-law drama. This was the moment years of swallowing her frustration, shrinking her personality, and tiptoeing around a culture that kept squeezing her smaller, finally shattered into fury. Jenny wasn't just reacting to Sumit'S refusal to move out. She was reacting to herself, realizing she was disappearing in a life that never truly accepted her. You could almost see the reel playing in her head as she said those words. The rules, the disrespect, the constant performance, how she went from being an equal partner to a guest in her own life. One minute she's in leggings flipping pancakes. Next thing she knows, she's being scolded for not folding clothes the correct Indian way. Can't wear a tank top. Can't nap in the living room. Can't watch TV without wearing a bra. At what point does cultural adjustment turn into self-abandonment? The irony? She tried. Oh, she really tried. She cooked the dishes. She touched the feet. She learned the customs. But no matter how much she bent, it was never enough for Sumit'S mom. It wasn't about what Jenny did. It was about who she was. Wrong age. Wrong nationality. Wrong energy. And this time, Jenny didn't bend. She snapped. What makes this meltdown go nuclear is what we hear next. Jenny didn't casually bring this up in a joint conversation. She told Sumit'S parents, without telling Sumit first. While his mom was sick, on the same day they'd argued, behind closed doors, she sat them down and laid it all out. She and Sumit are leaving. Not negotiating. Not suggesting. Leaving. And she said it like she meant it. Now the family Jenny tried so hard to win over is calling her manipulative. Sumit feels betrayed. And Jenny? Jenny feels free. For the first time in months, she said something for herself. Not to please anyone else. But if Jenny really meant it, why does she still keep looking over her shoulder? And if Sumit says he wants both, his wife and his family, why does it always feel like Jenny's the one getting pushed out every time? Let's rewind. Because this blow-up wasn't born in one moment. It's been brewing for months, maybe years. And every passive-aggressive comment, every silent compromise, every skipped conversation finally led to this. Public chaos, private betrayal, and a relationship spiraling out of sync. Before Jenny ever screamed, "I'm done," she had already disappeared into silence. Not physically, not even dramatically, but in a slower, sadder way, through daily concessions, quiet edits to her speech, shrinking her behavior inch by inch to fit inside someone else's rulebook. What started as cultural respect gradually turned into personal erasure. You could see it in the little things. The way she silently nodded when scolded. The way she waited for permission to speak up, then decided not to. The way she started dressing like a background extra in her own life. Most days, it wasn't even big scenes. It was the suffocation of constant micro-control. A meal with too much spice. A neckline too low. A laugh too loud. The rigid house rules even reached bedtime. Jenny once said, "I feel like I'm 14 again." And she wasn't joking. Living under Sumit'S parents' roof didn't just strip her privacy, it stole her adulthood. The woman once sipping wine with friends back in California was now being told when she can shower and whether she can have non-veg in the house. And it wasn't just the social rules. It was the silent expectations. No hugs, no public affection, no visible marriage equality. After all this time, Jenny still felt like an outsider. Except now, she was expected to act like she belonged, but never allowed to forget that she didn't. Then came the twist no one saw coming. Sumit's mom suddenly fell ill. Couldn't get out of bed. Everyone in the household said it was stress-related, emotions too heavy, tension too high, and while no one outright blamed Jenny, let's be honest, the tone shifted. The guilt was implied. The timing was perfect. Too perfect. It doesn't take a genius to see how emotional sickness in a tight-knit household can create invisible leashes. Whether real or convenient, it put Jenny back in a corner. So she did what she's always done. Showed up. Jenny cooked a traditional lentil rice porridge, kikti, for Sumit's mom. She stirred it with care, carried it to her mother-in-law's room, and added an extra ingredient on the side. A secret plan. Because Jenny wasn't just there to heal. She was preparing her exit, right in front of the people pleading for her to comply. It's almost comedic, this moment of soup diplomacy. A steaming bowl of comfort food, hand-delivered with a simmering bomb inside. Sumit thought Jenny was just being kind. What he didn't know is that she already decided to tell his parents they were moving out, and he wasn't invited to that conversation. Not a heads up, not a warning. She served soup, then served notice. With quiet confidence and zero theatrics, Jenny looked Sumit's parents in the eye and told them what their son hadn't dared to say himself. We're leaving. We want peace. We want control. We were happier without you. And she said it all while standing in the one place she had been taught not to have opinions. Her in-laws' house. The shock on Sudna's face wasn't from the soup. It was from the power shift. For once, she couldn't stop what was happening. Not with a guilt trip. Not with cultural weight. And not with control. That moment flipped the script like never before. But did Jenny just drop the truth too soon? Or was this the only chance she had left to take back the life she gave up? The second Jenny finishes her sentence, the air freezes. Sumit's mom doesn't scream, doesn't cry. She just blinks slowly and says, "You're not going anywhere." 4 words. Quiet. Chilling. Final. Not advice. Not a request. An order. If Jenny had thrown a match, Sudna just emptied a barrel of gasoline. This wasn't a conversation. This was a reminder. In this house, power doesn't come from marital status or emotional needs. Power lives in the hierarchy. And Sumit's parents have made it clear, for years, where Jenny ranks in that chart, which is somewhere between tolerated houseguest and long-term inconvenience. She may be his wife, but in this dynamic, even that doesn't buy her leverage. What's wild is the type of control being used isn't loud or violent. It's wrapped in quiet politeness, couched in family values, dipped in tradition. The rules aren't shouted. They're enforced through obligation. Cultural duty. Parental expectations. And in this setup, questioning those things is treated like betrayal. You're not just challenging authority. You're threatening the entire system. Sumit's parents don't operate like typical TV villains. They speak softly, dress modestly, smile almost constantly, but their boundaries are cement. Their way or no way. Any challenge to that order? It's personal. To them, the family unit isn't negotiable. It's sacred, which in their world makes Jenny's actions unforgivable. She didn't just overstep. She defied the unspoken law by speaking plainly. You can feel Jenny's restraint cracking. She's shaking her head, not in confusion, but in disbelief. These aren't disagreements. These are demands pretending to be dialogue. And what's worse, It's all being painted as what's best for the family. She's sitting in front of two grown adults, telling another grown adult that she's not allowed to leave a living arrangement that's literally destroying her mental health. Jenny doesn't blow up at their words. She implodes at their tone. The calm, almost smug certainty that their comfort is more meaningful than her truth. That she doesn't get to decide what kind of life she wants because they don't approve of how she lives it. And when she fires back, her voice isn't desperate, it's sharpened. She doesn't say, "Please understand," or "We need to talk." She says, "I'm too old for this. I can't be told what I can't do." And right there, it's like centuries of family doctrine get shattered. Sumit's dad steps in then, escalating things in his own way. Quiet voice, strong command. "You have to live with us. You will stay here." No discussion. No compromise. Like Jenny's opinions are bad behavior that needs correcting. She looks at them, and you can see it. It's not sadness. It's rejection. A realization that they never planned to give her dignity, only compliance. This isn't a misunderstanding. It's a standoff. She's made her needs clear. They've ignored them as a threat to order. And somewhere in that cold exchange, what little honeymoon image her and Sumit tried to uphold just collapsed completely. And where is Sumit during all this? Nowhere. He's not even in the room. The man she risked everything to be with is missing during her biggest emotional war. Because he never thought she'd actually fight back alone. So now the real question lands. Can Jenny really go through with it, knowing she has no income, no place of her own, and a husband still too scared to stand beside her when it counts most? Or has she cornered herself into making a move she doesn't know how to survive? You'd think, after a blowout like that, this couple might take a breather, maybe stay home, maybe process at their own pace. But instead, Sumit decides it's the perfect time for a lighthearted date at a wildlife park. Because who needs therapy when you can go look at deer and ducks while your marriage bleeds out? So there they are. Forest, birds, awkward silence. Jenny's in her feelings. Sumit's acting like they're on honeymoon day 5. She's nursing emotional whiplash, and he's talking about monkey sightings. The disconnect isn't just symbolic, it's brutal. Sumit points at a pond full of squawking ducks and makes a joke about how it reminds him of home. Too much noise. Too much chaos. Big mood. But the man's comparing his parental war zone to birds and acting like Jenny's going to laugh. She doesn't. Because unlike Sumit, Jenny didn't come here to let things blow over. She came here to bring it up. Right here. Right now. In between frogs croaking and school kids snapping selfies. She's like, "Remember how it used to be? Just you and me? In our apartment, doing things our way?" Sumit smiles. Nostalgic. He says, "Yeah, but we live with family now." That one sentence hits like a slap in the face. Not harsh, but hopeless. Jenny doesn't waste another second. She looks him dead in the eye and drops the bomb. "I already told your parents." The air stops. The ducks go mute. Sumit's face freezes, then contorts like someone just short-circuited his reality. "You what?" is all he manages. His voice cracks, that high-pitched baby Sumit tone emerging like it always does when he's cornered. It'd be almost funny if it wasn't so devastating. You can see the gears turning in his head. How? When? Why? What did you say? Who gave you the right? Jenny's calm, but firm. She tells him, without any ceremony, that they're leaving. That she told his mom and dad the truth. That she's done pretending this is working. And here's the worst part for Sumit. It's not the decision that rattles him. It's that he wasn't in the room when it happened. His wife took the one thing he's most terrified of, confronting his parents, and did it without him. And it doesn't feel like support. It feels like betrayal. That's when the conversation takes a sharper turn. Sumit, still processing, brings up the obvious roadblock: finances. They moved in with his parents to save money. Rent is expensive. They had no choice. But Jenny sees through that. She doesn't buy that money's the real issue. Not anymore. Because if it were about rent, he'd be trying to problem solve. Instead, he's defending the very system that makes her feel dehumanized. She told them, because he wouldn't. Sumit doesn't deny that. Now both of them are standing in the middle of a park pretending to enjoy peace, while their entire relationship fractures beneath the sound of duck quacks. Jenny keeps her voice low, but the words sting. I want our life back. And for once, Sumit doesn't have a comeback. He doesn't argue. He doesn't rage. He goes silent. Not just quiet, silent. And that silence says more than if he screamed. It says he knows she's right, but he's still not ready to choose her over them. And that silence is exactly when Jenny starts wondering if she's already too late. Too past the line. Too far gone. Because if your person won't stand with you after all this, are they still your person? Or just another comfort zone you gave too many years to? The silence doesn't last long. As soon as they leave the park, the spell of peace quietly snaps, and Sumit's voice comes back. Not soft, not curious, but cornered and defensive. He doesn't yell. He states, straight-faced, we can't move out. We don't have the money. We're financially dependent. And there it is. The cold, blunt truth Jenny's been tiptoeing around for weeks. Not whispered, not sugar-coated, slammed down like a full stop to any future she was trying to build. Any hope she held that they'd eventually escape this house, start fresh, or even make adult choices as equals, it dies right there on the sidewalk. Jenny doesn't blow up immediately. She nods, like she's connecting the last dots of a puzzle that was never fair to begin with. They didn't move in to help his sick mom. They didn't move in to save the marriage. They moved in because Sumit never wanted to leave. Not really. Forget the excuses. He's comfortable there. Coddled. Sheltered. Controlled. And that control extends to Jenny. She's got a 90-day marriage, but a 1950s household. And no escape plan. All this time, she thought they were working towards something. Stability, independence, a place of their own. But now, she sees it. Sumit likes this setup. He doesn't have to grow up. His meals are made. His parents handle the big stuff. And when it gets too hard, he backs away like it's not his problem. Jenny, meanwhile, is sitting in a room where she's told what to eat, how to dress, and how to behave like a real Indian wife, even though nobody really wanted her as one to begin with. And now? Now she's told there's no exit strategy, and worse, that the man she gave up her country, her career, and her comfort for had no intention of making one. So finally, she breaks. She turns to him, voice shaking in that very specific way, less rage, more years of being unheard. And she says, if you're not coming, I'll go alone. I'll move out with or without you. It's not a threat. It's a lifeline she's cutting herself free from. And she means it. Sumit scoffs at first, like she's exaggerating. Where's she going to go? Who's going to pay the rent? But that's what makes this moment hit so hard. Jenny doesn't care about logistics anymore. She's already been surviving emotionally bankrupt. What's financial stress compared to being told how to exist every waking day by in-laws who never accepted you and a husband too scared to speak above a whisper? The irony? Sumit's the one who brought her to this country. Promised her a beginning. And here she is, middle-aged, watching her self-worth drip out like water from a leaky faucet while he tells her to adjust. But this level of shrinking doesn't look like survival. It looks like slow erosion. Isn't that its own kind of heartbreak? Still, there's something else lingering in the silence between them. Not divorce. Not yet. But something just as dangerous. Indifference. A growing numbness. Because this isn't about one fight or one decision. It's about a pattern. And when Jenny finally walked away from that wildlife park, the question wasn't, will he follow? It was, why do I keep hoping he will? And if Jenny finally moves out alone, does she even want him to chase her anymore? Or has everything they built already started to rot from the inside? Somewhere in the quiet, after the fight, after the yelling stops, after the storm clears, after the threat to leave has been spoken and sat with, what's left between Sumit and Jenny isn't anger. It's exhaustion. And beneath that exhaustion are two people who genuinely love each other, but might be living in completely different versions of what love should feel like. For Sumit, love looks like loyalty, subtlety, collectiveness. It's knowing your place within the larger unit, even if that place comes with limits. It's sacrifice, but it's also safety. Because deep down, Sumit is still very much a child of cultural guilt. He carries hundreds of years of tradition on his shoulders, not just as burden, but as identity. His mother's stress becomes his problem. His father's disappointment feels like shame. And the idea of being the son who left is a fear he probably doesn't even have words for. So when Jenny pushes for independence, Sumit doesn't just hear her say she wants freedom. He hears that she wants separation from everything he was raised to value: home, family, order, respect. And somewhere inside, that disconnect terrifies him. Because what if being a good husband means failing as a good son? But here's where it gets complicated. Jenny knows all of this. She's not blind to Sumit's fear. She's been standing on that line with him for years, always hoping he'd gradually feel safe walking across it. But instead, he keeps leaning back into the familiar. And Jenny, the woman who once thought love alone would be enough, is now realizing she might have to choose herself because he won't choose differently. Jenny's whole life was built on deferring. She followed rules, stayed small, did what was expected for most of her adult life. Marriage, routine, decisions made for the greater good of the situation. But then came Sumit. Their love felt rebellious, wild. It broke every rule. He was younger. He was from a different continent. He came with enormous risk. And for Jenny, loving him wasn't just about wanting a man. It was about awakening a self she thought she lost. And now, that self is suffocating under another set of rules. Rules that tell her to be quiet, grateful, cooperative. Be less. Again, that's why she keeps fighting so hard for autonomy, because when you've spent decades doing what everyone else wanted, the moment you catch the scent of your own authority again, you run with it. You protect it with fire. And it's not as simple as saying one of them is wrong. Because it's not wrong for Sumit to feel loyal to his parents. It's not wrong for Jenny to want out of a house where she feels watched, judged, and silenced. The problem isn't one person's values. It's what happens when both of them are valid, but permanently crossing. Sumit doesn't lie when he says he cares. He does. You can see it in the way his face crumples, in how he folds when she walks away, in how much he wants peace, even if he can't figure out how to get there. He's trying to be both husband and son in a culture that doesn't always allow both at once. And Jenny's not dramatic for drawing the line. She's drawing it around her soul, around her right to privacy, her right to comfort, her right to sit on her own damn couch and eat what she wants, without being shamed for existing as herself. What's tragic is that they're both holding on to dignity, but the tighter they hold, the further apart they feel. If you boil it all down, It's not even about leaving the house anymore. It's about what that house represents. For Jenny, it's a cage. For Sumit, it's a cradle. Same home. Two meanings. No overlap. And if the same space feels like liberation for one and imprisonment for the other, what happens when neither wants to leave it behind? Just when it seems like they've exhausted every possible fight, Jenny throws another bomb into the conversation. And this one doesn't come from emotion. It comes from math. The calf. The business that was supposed to offer them a fresh start. A shared dream. A way to make money, assert independence, and carve out space from Sumit's parents has become its own prison. And she's over it. Why are we spending all this money to lose money? She asks. Not sarcastic, not accusatory. Genuinely baffled. Because from her perspective, the calf isn't a solution, it's another anchor. Another distraction keeping them from moving forward. And worse, it's bleeding them dry. Every week, Jenny watches bills rack up. Ingredients, rent, staff, equipment. The electricity alone is enough to set off her anxiety. They aren't even breaking even. And yet, Sumit walks around with pride like the business is a trophy. But she sees it differently. He didn't build it to thrive. He built it to pacify the tension. To prove something. To his family. To Jenny. Maybe even to himself. That he could juggle it all. Be the husband, the son, the provider, the dreamer. But all Jenny sees is another false promise. A new leash wrapped in nicer packaging. Because despite how it looks on the outside, nothing's really changed. The calf hasn't freed them. It's consumed them. And now not only are they stuck emotionally, they're locked in financially. Jenny thought starting the calf meant a step out of the house. One towards self-sufficiency. Instead, it's taken what little freedom she had left. She's working more, relaxing less, and living in a constant state of tension, walking on eggshells at home, while working on fumes at the calf. And Sumit? He still expects her to smile for customers like, everything's fine, but everything's not fine. She didn't move to India to run a failing business and be placed under 24/7 surveillance. She came for love, for commitment, for a partnership that felt like home. Right now, nothing feels like home. Not the house, not the calf, not even her husband. Jenny's voice shakes as she tells him this wasn't the life she signed up for. She trusted that one day they'd be equals. That after all the risk she took, leaving her family, giving up her comfort, enduring endless judgment, there'd be something on the other side of it. A safer, freer, calmer life. Not chaos disguised as tradition. Not labor disguised as love. And something inside her breaks open in that moment. She says she's tired of being the one who always adjusts, always waits, always shrinks herself to keep the peace. Sumit offers the same lines she's heard before. We're building together. It'll get better. We're doing this as a couple. But those words don't land anymore. They sound mechanical, defensive, wrong time, wrong place. Because Jenny's already miles ahead of this conversation. She's imagining what it would look like to pack her bags and actually leave. To find a room, a studio, even a couch, just as long as it's hers. Somewhere with no expectations, no house rules, no eggshells. Somewhere she can watch TV in her damn underwear and not have to apologize for existing. And what if that piece never includes Sumit? So now we're here. Every excuse has been answered. Every plea has run dry. And Jenny is standing at the edge of a future she might have to face alone, unless something changes fast. But will she walk away while still hoping he'll follow? Or finally admit he never intended to? The evening is quiet now. The yelling has stopped. The doors aren't slamming. There's no audience, no in-laws watching, no plates of food being criticized. It's just Sumit and Jenny in a room that suddenly feels too still. And in that stillness, you can feel the weight of everything that's been said or not said between them. Because despite all the fights, all the drama, all the moments that made viewers scream at their screens, there's something you can't deny about these two. They love each other. Not in a soft, sweet, Instagram-filtered way. In a deep, messy, terrifying kind of way. The kind of love that uproots lives. That makes people leave countries, defy families, accept rejection because they believe in each other more than the world around them does. But sometimes love is loud when it should be quiet. And sometimes it keeps us hostage when it's already expired. Jenny's not someone who gives up easily. Say what you will about her choices, but she's fought harder than most people ever would. She stayed when she was told to go. She compromised when she should have walked. She stood still while everyone around her kept drawing lines she wasn't allowed to cross. At some point, it stopped being about winning over the family and started becoming about survival. It's a survival that doesn't look like strength, but it is. And Sumit? He's not cruel. He's not manipulative in the classic sense. But he is afraid, crushed by the weight of two versions of himself, one molded by family, the other born in rebellion. Being the man Jenny needs means becoming the man his parents might never speak to again. And when you're from a culture where family isn't a part of your life, they are your life, that's not a small ask. So here they are. Jenny's love has always come with risk. But what she's starting to see now is that risk has to go both ways. Sacrifice isn't noble when it's one-sided. It's a silent surrender. And she's surrendered enough. Her space, her choices, her freedom. The question now isn't whether Sumit loves her. He does. But love without reflection becomes survival without growth. It becomes dragging someone along while they quietly lose themselves. And Jenny has nothing left to lose, except herself. Again. As she sits across from Sumit, her eyes don't hold rage. They hold grief. Because that's what this really is, a grieving. Not only for what they haven't become, but for what she's finally letting go of. The dream, the fantasy, the belief that if she just stayed quiet, small, agreeable enough, it would all someday lead to peace. Peace doesn't come when you silence your needs. It arrives when you respect them. And that's what this final moment is about. Not punishment, not revenge, but self-curation. Jenny walking away isn't an ending. It's her choosing herself after choosing everyone else for far too long. And as she steps away from the house where her freedom was always conditional, she doesn't look back to see if Sumit is following. Because if he is, she needs it to be as an equal, not a witness. She walks out with no makeup, no dramatic flair, no packed bags on the porch, no Bollywood soundtrack, just calm. After years of noise and chaos and control, that silence is her final boundary. And this time, it's non-negotiable. But what Sumit does next? That's the twist no one, especially Jenny, could see coming.